Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Manny from Heaven's Pantry, and we have with us today a very special guest, Chandler Gottlieb, who's the owner of Palmberries LLC. Chandler, can you just tell us a little bit more about what Palmberries LLC is and who you serve and what your mission is?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So Palm Berries is an acai bowl chain. We sell acai bowls and smoothies. We're located in Denver, Mooresville, and Hickory, and we're working on a fourth location in Lincolnton as well. So the northern part of Charlotte there.
That's that's that that's awesome how you guys have, found success in multiple locations and now want to add more stores in the mix. So, just to give our viewers a little bit of a reference, Palmberries was actually one of the first stores to ever pick up the Excalibur, and business has been going good. They've been selling well.
Yeah, yeah, they sell super well. Everyone loves them.
I
And
really
it's nice that it's kind of like an add-on to what we already sell. Like we just have it on the side there. People can pick it up, as if they want to eat it with their smoothie or, whatever.
I really think the key to establishing successful partnerships with stores like yours is just finding a good fit where the the primary target audience who comes into stores like yours is also the kind of demographic who cares about their health, cares about what they put in their body, are pretty conscious of what they're doing on a day to day basis because those are the kinds of stores that Excaliburs tend to really succeed in.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, I think your motto is sort of like why eat something that, tastes terrible but is healthy and like vice versa, right? Why eat something
Yeah,
that tastes great but is not healthy? And we're going for the same exact kind of thing. And our customers believe in the same idea that you do or your customers do, that like why eat something that's healthy but it tastes like terrible. With acai bowls as well, it's like it tastes good, and it's healthy, and same with Excalibur, your product.
isn't it funny how society has been ingrained to associate, you know, um, junk food with tasting good, and then healthy food with tasting bad? And I think
Right.
I think it's just really such a false dichotomy. I never understood why people couldn't have both because growing up eating healthy, eating healthy was very emphasized. Because the kinds of Asian food that you find at at a restaurant is very different than the kind that that Asian family is gonna make. And the food that was that the food that I was taught to make, the food that my parents made for me when I was growing up, it was always it was always simple, but it tasted good, and it and the ingredients were wholesome. So that
Wow.
really influenced me on my journey, crafting the Excalibur, just going for simple ingredients that are sourced well, blended well together, and uh, without sacrificing health. And when I walk into your stores and I order one of the acai bowls, I think it's really interesting to see like how simple the whole process of making good acai bowls are. Like, would you describe it as like a pretty simplistic process?
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends what you're comparing it to, right? Like if you're comparing it to like making a steak or making a burger or whatever,
Yeah.
it's a lot simpler. But as far as the process itself, like, there's different pitfalls with all like processes of making foods and whatever, but I'd say it's pretty simple. My employees might disagree with that, but you know, it's pretty simple if you're comparing it to like other foods that you might make, you know.
I bet you the hard part is sourcing the ingredients and finding like good quality ingredients.
Yeah, I mean, so that's been tough only because of COVID. But really the toughest thing about like the process is just blending the base, right? So we like most acai bowl places will like blend it like fresh or blend it, per order. Like every order that comes in, they'll blend
Mm.
the base as needed, which takes a lot of time. And it's like you don't know if you're getting the same amount of bananas or berries or whatever every single time you come in. With us, we like pre-blend everything in bulk, right? So like we put everything in a huge like stock pot and then store it in ice cream tubs, right? Like ice cream containers,
Yep.
and then scoop it out of that, right? So it makes the process a lot quicker, and it's also it like maintains consistency where you're getting the same portion of acai, the same portion of berries and fruit and stuff in every bowl, in every base. So the hardest part really is like making sure that that base is still just as like creamy and fresh as if you were to like blend it fresh, right? Like we want to give the customers a good fast experience, but we don't want to sacrifice the quality of the product, right? So I think that's like the most challenging thing in our business industry.
That's something that I noticed every time that I came in. Every like first of all, your your customer processing time is incredibly great. By the way, I think it's
Yeah, thank you.
uh well I know this from firsthand experience because one time when I went there, there was like a it was during lunchtime and there was like a pretty hefty line, and the way that you were able to process customer after customer after customer, deal with different channels of distribution, including
Mhm.
including Uber Eats and DoorDash and all those online services, and deal with a big line of customers coming in the door, and for the bowls to be consistently good every time because my bowl when there was a rush was every bit as
Mhm.
good as when it was just like me and a few other customers in the store. It's consistently good every single time.
Right. Yeah, no, I appreciate that for sure. And I
I'm just
think
giving you my
like,
honest feedback.
yeah, awesome. I think, one thing like early on, we've really focused on like operations, right? And like we started from a small food truck, and we would work, countless hours, like 60 hours a week, just on the food truck. And that doesn't include back end stuff and whatever. But while we were working, like we were constantly thinking, like, okay, how can we make this better? Like, how can we make this kind of like foolproof for when we expand, when we have
Yeah,
employees, and when we have people working that aren't going to care as much as we do, right? Which is like the sad truth of it all. But yeah, like we've made it such a good process, and it's like so quick to like make the bowls when it comes time the customers order them, that we're able to push out volumes that like fast food places are pushing out. Especially in stores like Hickory, like some of the newer ones where it's laid out better.
definitely. So I have, part of the reason why I love having guests like you is because some of the people who are watching in the audience have entrepreneurial aspirations, and one thing I really want to do is just show people the roadmap and show people that hey, if you have an idea, don't sit on your idea forever. Go go ahead, test it. Fail, get back up, try again. Let the market validate your idea, and then refine your idea as you know as you go further on in the process. Instead of just sitting there in your room daydreaming about something and never taking any action, I think that's the absolute worst thing that you can do. And
Right.
I think people like you and I, we've definitely escaped that trap. So starting from the ground up, what you said you started in a food truck.
Yeah.
So were you doing this on top of a full-time job as well?
Yeah, so in the beginning, right? So I used to work for Amazon as an area manager, and it was good pay. It wasn't like glorious work, but it was good, and I liked it. Um, and after doing that for like 6 months, well, really after doing that for like 2 months, I decided, okay, I want to start something on the side and build it up. But after doing it for, I think it was 7 months, is when we first like opened the truck. So I was doing that while working at Amazon, and doing that, like it was tough, right? But like everything kind of was tough in the beginning. Like even when I eventually left my job at Amazon and was doing the truck full time, I'd say that was actually like
And it probably
tougher.
got tougher as you went on and and expanded, and you
Yeah,
realized,
and
hey,
it's
this is just the beginning.
right, right. And I'll kind of like route back to that later. But yeah, like I was doing Amazon and the truck. Like I would work Amazon Sunday through Wednesday, and then I would do the truck Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then my wife's family, who's like my business partners, they would run it on the other days, right? And like we'd have two people working the truck, so one of them would work with me when I would be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Um, you know,
Do you feel like having a partner in this definitely helped your business and helped you with work-life balance and helped you with scaling it up?
yeah, 100%. And I mean, like, it helped with every aspect of the business, really, right? Like, and the key is, I mean, you hear it all the time, and it's super cliche. Like, go into business with people that are like-minded, but have like different strengths than you do. And like from personal experience, that could not be more true. Like we're all like super ambitious and we want to expand and everything. And like we see like a huge, we have a huge vision for Palm Berries. But I'm more good at like, the technical side of things, right? So like the numbers and like crunching, inventory and like the financials and like all that kind of stuff. My wife and her family are more into like, creativity and like soft like people skills, right? Whereas like I'm not as good at those kind of things, which is why like we work super well together. So I kind of do all like the technical stuff, not all of it, right? But like that's kind of what I focus on. And then they focus on like designing the stores and like having tough conversations with employees and like thinking of like creative ways to kind of expand and creative ways to like change our operation process or how to change things and different stuff like that, right? So it's definitely good to like have business partners. We want to have the right ones, right? Like if you have people that have the same exact strengths that you do, your company is going to have a lot of downfalls, you know.
So I definitely experienced that myself. I think I was very fortunate that both the partners I had for Heaven's Pantry, we all had complementary skill sets. Like for example, um, Rob Rob was one of the chief architects of the product. He made he was able to get a really good design for the product, and you know, um, we actually used to make it in his kitchen as well. So the bars got started because we used to cut them by hand on the weekends in his kitchen, and like obviously we all had input on the recipe, but he just had really good taste. So I think I credit the product, to him. Uh, Justin actually it's interesting how, that analytical mind runs in the family because Justin actually plays that role in Heaven's Pantry as well. He's incredible. He's
Gotcha.
in, he's incredibly gifted when it comes to crunching the numbers. He knows like all the numbers by hand. Just an incredibly sharp dude on the, with the finances. Whereas I'm more of the guy who's going out there and evangelizing and showing the world about the product. So you know I really think the skill sets mesh really well. And I could tell you one thing, uh, I would not want to have two clones of myself.
Right, exactly. And as much as I'll say like, oh, I wish there was two of me so that I could do more, right? Like that'd be a disaster. Like you'd butt
Yeah,
heads all the time and you'd right like and one thing too, like we all kind of trust each other so much that like I'm the only person doing the financials, right? And like obviously people are looking at it and like they're kind of making sure and whatever. But it's like, I take it and I run with it, right? So it's like you're not sitting there having two people trying to do the same exact thing and like make it perfect and whatever.
yep.
And as an entrepreneur, I'm sure you've realized this, like nothing you do can ever be perfect, right? And like it's the sooner you realize that and the sooner you actually execute on that, the easier it becomes, right? And like you can make, do things to the best of your ability and whatever, but never dwell on anything, right? Like if something should take a week to do, don't take like 3 months to do it because you want it to be perfect, you know?
I think the best way to illustrate that is a graphical curve with
Mhm.
effort on effort on the x-axis going horizontally, and then returns or outcome on the y-axis going vertically. I would say that as an entrepreneur, you got to be really mindful of the point of diminishing returns, where you put a lot of time on the x-axis for really marginal, like small gains on the y-axis. Uh, once you hit a certain point, you really hit that
Mhm.
point of diminishing returns, and you never want to put in more time just to chase like incremental gains, and because
Mhm.
we're definitely not at that point. There's
Right.
we're definitely not at that point. And
Exactly.
I I think another thing that a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs wonder about is how do you find the right people to hire, whether it's contractors, whether it's employees? Because you said that it's really hard to get someone to care about the business as much as you do. But
Mhm.
how do you find people who are reliable for a business? And how do you find people who maybe don't care as much as you do, but still care enough to the point where they're productive,
Mhm.
helpful employees?
Right. Yeah, I mean, so it depends who we're hiring and what realm we kind of take, right? Like I'll start with just hiring, employees, which right now we have 55 employees. And it might seem like, oh yeah, just hire a bunch of people who are average and whatever, which is sort of the case. But kind of the route that I take for that is like, I think it was Gary Vee that said it. It's really funny that this comes up. Don't get good at hiring, get good at firing, right?
Mhm.
And the way that we do it is like let's say I want to hire, 3 people, or let's say we're opening a new store. I want to hire like, 15 people, like a full team. Um, I'll probably end up interviewing like 50, right? Out of those 50, I'll probably hire or not hire, like train maybe 35, right? And then out of those 35, I'll probably put like 20 or 25 on the schedule and then just pick the worst 10 and get them out. And then that way I'm left with the best 15. And right, you can whatever numbers you kind of start from, it's called the law of averages, right? That like
Mhm.
if you start with a high number, it's going to dwindle down into a low number of what you actually want and who you actually want to hire. And like the only way to know if somebody's actually good, like, yeah, you can tell a lot from an interview. And it's good to interview people. But the best thing to do is just put them in the position to succeed and see how they do, right? And if they like punt it and they do terrible, then okay, we know they're not good, right? Don't put them on the schedule again. But like if you have somebody, you put them in the position to succeed, they do really well on their shift, they're learning quick and all that kind of stuff, and they're enjoying it. Then keep them on the schedule. They're going to be like a key part of your team, right? And as far as like hiring managers, you don't have that luxury because most of the time you're just hiring one. The best way to do it is just have multiple rounds of interviews. And then while you're doing the interview, just kind of visualize like, okay, how can I see this person? Like, what are they saying that their weaknesses are? Are those truly, truly going to affect the business? And just really thinking deeper into like what they're saying in the interview, because that's only going to show more, once they work, and from a positive side and from a negative side, you know.
So I really like how you mentioned enjoying the job.
Uh,
As a I've interviewed a good amount of people for my day job, and there's always this one trait that I look for. I think that it's not fair to the employee, and it's not fair to the employer. When you have an employee who comes in every day with a toxic, negative attitude, doesn't want to do work, you know, feels like feels like going there is a drain every morning, and I want to do them a favor, and I would prefer not to give them the position just because you know um, first of all, it's a drain on on the team and the people around them. And secondly, it's not fair to them as well because I would rather them pursue an opportunity that they might grow to truly enjoy. And I find that enjoying your job from my from my career history as well. I think enjoying your job is probably the number one factor that determines whether someone's going to succeed or not. Uh, not just as an employee, but also as a businessman as well. I'm sure you really enjoy what you do, right?
yeah, yeah, of course. And I mean that's part of the reason that like I like to believe that we do so well, right? Is that we have so much passion and like we're not gonna let this ship fail, this ship sink, Um, yeah, and as far as, liking your job, like it definitely correlates as far as performance, right? And that's why I say, we'll hire all these people, train all of them, put them into positions to succeed. If they're not doing well, they most likely don't want to do well. And I know that
Mhm.
sounds strange, but it's like if they enjoy what they're doing and they legitimately like making the bowls and like serving the customers and they like the product itself, that's a big thing too. They're going to do well, right? And it's like the thing, like he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right, right? If somebody comes in and they say like, "Oh, I like this job. I'm going to do a good job today," and somebody else says, "Oh, I hate this. I'm just going to like, try to get by today." They're both going to be right. The person who said, "Oh, I like this. I'm going to enjoy it, whatever." They're going to do a good job. The one who says like, "Oh, I don't really like this, whatever." Even if they try to do a good job, they're not going to like be fully in it, right? So they're just going to not do a great job at it.
When you were working at Amazon as an area manager, because that's a very, that's a very
Mhm.
desirable job. When you were a area manager at Amazon, did you feel like, you enjoyed going in and did you feel like you took something away from that position that helped you to get to where you are today?
Yeah, I think any job that I've had, even the simple ones, being a catering server, whatever, definitely correlates with everything I do. Just because, like, as an entrepreneur, you're kind of involved in everything in the business, right? So, like, for example, at Amazon, I was managing. I mean, at one point, I was managing like 300 employees, right? But like, it was an average of like 150 people that I would have on my team. So just constantly dealing with people all day, and like even if I was in a bad mood or even if I was like tired, whatever, it was impossible for me to not talk to somebody, right?
Yep.
And not like, and it would be, some like a direct report of mine, right? So they might have some kind of issue going on or some kind of thing. And it's like, I might have to like write them up for different feedback. Let's say they didn't hit rate or whatever. So it's like the difficult conversations that you simply can't avoid, right? So I think that's a big thing that I took away from Amazon is just really people skills and talking to people, having those difficult conversations, whether you want to or not, whether it's like, oh, today's a good day, today's a bad day, like it doesn't matter
It's
to
just
me.
something that you got to do,
Right.
like going to class.
Right.
It's like going to class.
Yep.
Like
Exactly.
you could be really sleep deprived from like pulling an all nighter, but
Uh,
like hey, like it's time for class. You go in anyways.
right. Exactly.
I've studied the come up and the rise of many of these tech giants such as Amazon, and I feel that their competitive
Mhm.
advantage is that Amazon is just incredibly good at benchmarking. They're very focused. They're very laser driven when it
Mhm.
comes to measuring. When it comes to measuring the KPIs that lead to growth and customer success, and it's clear that there was a lot of Six Sigma work that was done to really bring these processes up to a real control. Do you
Mhm.
see yourself doing the same kinds of benchmarking in your business that Amazon created? Like, do you benchmark a lot of your do you benchmark a lot of your stats, such as how
Mhm.
long it takes to put a bowl together, or do you break down the processes, or do you have a more like high level generalized approach?
Yeah. So, I mean, I completely agree with the fact that like Amazon benchmarks everything. You know what I mean? And like the 0.1% of like their fast starts and like all these crazy
It's to the
KPIs.
point where they literally measure like how fast someone like picks up a box and like puts it on
Right.
the shelf.
Right, right, and there's so many factors they're thinking about, and, like, they take
Yeah.
everything into account. I would say we take more of a high level approach. I definitely do take that from Amazon, with managing, like, the inventory levels and whatever, and, like, for example, if I'm trying to figure out the amount of inventory to have on stock, and I'm like, "Oh, this month is, like, July, and July is, like, 2% slower than June," right, which is exactly what I'm looking at now. I need to decrease the inventory level by 2%, right? Even if it's such a small increment. When it comes to numbers, I think I'm definitely, like that, but as far as with employees and as far as, the operation and, like, with customer experience and customer satisfaction, all that kinda stuff, there's so many different factors and we're so new, like we don't have the historical data. Like I would say we're collecting the data so we can do that kind of thing in the future. But right now, like we're a new business. So we're very like scrappy, right? For like lack of better words. So I think we definitely take a high level approach, especially with things where we don't have a ton of data on.
I think it's actually a great idea when you're a little bit on the newer side to actually uh, chill out with all the metrics and all the
Mhm.
measuring because a lot of your processes probably aren't like set in stone yet. Like your processes evolve, they're changing over time. And you know, these these this laser focused uh, obsession with metrics that big companies like Amazon or General Electric has with their metrics. I know G is not the best example because they're not the best performing company, but but I think Amazon's definitely a better example.
Uh,
I think for people like us, if we try to benchmark and we try to measure everything obsessively, then that ends up, as you said, you're trying to chase perfection when
mhm.
reality you should focus on doing just enough.
Right. And it's more so like, yeah, the same thing we were saying before with diminishing returns, right? Like you
Mhm.
want to compare apples to apples, right? And like, for example, like I could look at like, oh, like, last year in Denver for the year, like for the month of, July, the average ticket size was way higher. Now it's lower. We're like, we must be doing something wrong, or whatever. Like, no, it's because like we're expanding. We opened like the
Yeah,
store in Mooresville in July of last year. So that explains it exactly because like if people are like only really coming to the store that live close by now because we have more stores. So they're not like taking a weekend drive and getting, a few bowls and whatever, and they can like save one for the next day or save one for next, whatever, for their kid or something, whatever. They have a store near their house, so now they're just going to go there when they want it rather than kind of, coming and saying like, oh, I can just get a lot and have leftovers, right? So it's like stuff like that. There's just so many factors to take into account that we don't have like the like correlation for the variable for like I don't know how much that affects the ticket size. I just know that it does, right? And in the future we'll have the data for it, but
definitely. So let's say let's say we had a clone of you 5 years younger
uh,
who had a crazy idea and wanted to try his hand at entrepreneurship. How would you suggest that he start? And how would you suggest that he tests his idea in the market and validate it?
yeah. I mean just go out there and do it, right? Like people say like, oh, you should like ask a lot of people and ask around and like do samples and whatever. Like I say just put it out there. And like, I mean, that's sort of like a bold thing, and right, like it costs a lot of money to do so and this and that. But if it's a product that like you truly believe in and you think is good, and like ask a few people, ask your family, ask your friends, whatever, see what they say. Most people are going to agree with you because it's human nature. Like people don't like to disagree with a
Unless
new
they're me.
idea, especially especially if they see that like you're passionate about it and whatever. So understand that and realize that when you're asking people and asking around about it, but you just go out there and do it as soon as possible, right? Especially if it's like an innovative idea, like your product, like my product. I don't know if I'd call it like innovative, right? But like the industry itself is expanding so fast that who knows how long the industry is going to be around, right?
I would definitely
More
call it
more
innovative
so,
because like
mhm,
you're offering a need that has not been adequately met by other suppliers in the market.
right,
And even if
right,
it's not high tech, I would still call what you're doing innovative because
yeah,
you're basically meeting people's desires.
uh, yeah, that's definitely
While we're on the topic of innovation, okay, uh, you have a new NFT coming out. And let's show the audience really quick what your NFT is about. All right. So, tell the audience a little bit about your new coming NFT.
all right. So disclaimer: I am not like a. I mean, I'm into crypto, but I'm not like a crypto enthusiast and somebody who's like all like into this stuff and whatever.
No, but you're offering a genuine,
Mhm.
a
Right.
genuine use case,
Yeah.
you're offering a crypto product that
Hmm.
actually has a real life, real world application unlike
Right.
the many other coins out there that are just smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, I'll go over that. So basically the NFT, anybody that buys and owns the NFT would get 10% off of whatever NFT that they buy, right? So like we have 13 total bowls and smoothies. It might be more. No,
Mhm.
17 total bowls and smoothies. I think 9 bowls, 8 smoothies. So there's one NFT for every bowl and for every smoothie. So you can buy that NFT for whatever it's listed for, right? Let's say it's like 0.02 Ethereum. So right now that'd be like 18 or $19. And that might be what it like sells at for now. And then once you own that, you get 10% off of that bowl or that smoothie that you own for life, right? And what's cool about that, like you said, it's a lot different from like other NFTs out there that you just own this like cool picture and like you can't really do much with it. um, with this, you can come in and you get 10% off for life, right? So it provides like a monetary value to the NFT itself, and it's easily calculatable, right? You can easily say like, okay, I think I'm going to live for another whatever 50 years. Um, Palm Berries is going to be around for another X amount of years. I go there twice a week. I'm going to order this twice a week. So like I get 10% off. That's $1 each time. Multiply it out by the amount of like weeks that you think Palm Berry is going to be around for, and there you go. And that's your value, right? And if that
And
value is like higher than what it's currently selling for, you should buy it, right? And it's like a black and white kind of thing that it provides, and it's very standardized, I guess you can call it.
and imagine if Palm Berries goes nationwide or even global, then you can have a whole marketplace of people
Mhm.
jumping onto that NFT.
Right.
And the early owners of that NFT will probably be richly rewarded because will probably be richly rewarded because one copy of that token will probably be worth more in the future as there are more stores and more locations and
Mhm.
thus a higher population that can access your stores.
Exactly. Like more people are gonna want them, right? Like imagine like what's something that's hot right now, like Chick-fil-A, right? Imagine they had
Oh,
something like this, like it'd be
If
nuts.
Chick-fil-A came out with a NFT with 10% off, right? I'd be hopping on that in an instant.
Yeah, right.
I'd be hopping on
And
that in an instant.
right. And the cool thing is too that like especially since we're so new and we're so small, it's free marketing. Like if even if we like lose money on the NFTs, right? And like somebody truly takes advantage of it and they like hand it around to their friends and we don't catch it and this and that, one, it's 10% off, right? Like I'll sell a bowl for $9 instead of 10 if that means I'm gonna get an additional person in the door, right?
Mhm.
Any day. Like if they're not gonna come if they didn't have the NFT, but they came because they had it, like that's a win. But also, like it's free marketing. Like you have free advertising, I should call it. You have a picture of your product in somebody's phone, and they pull it out and they own it and they look at it and they like get enjoyment out of it, right? And they might like tell their friends like, "Oh, look, I own this. This is super cool." And the higher it goes up in value, the more of like a clout thing it's going to be like the monkeys or like the other NFTs that there is out there. If these NFTs go anything above 1,000, it's going to be like a flex. Like, oh look, I have this like Queen
Hey, I
City
was one
bowl
of
or
the first
whatever.
OG
Right,
Palm Berries guys.
right.
Kind of like how when Supreme started out, they were
Mhm.
not their clothes weren't retail in the secondhand markets for $500 an item, but
Right.
they were actually reasonably priced back then. But like it's kind of like being the first guy to own a pair of Supreme sneakers or Supreme shirts.
Uh huh. Yeah. I mean, I hope it gets to that point, but yeah, you're right.
So are these NFT? Is there a limited amount that can go in circulation, and are they transferable from one party to another?
Yeah, so each NFT has like a different amount. I think the most is like that one NFT might have is like 4 copies,
Mhm.
which is like our most popular products, so like the Queen City Bowl or the Sammy Bowl, whatever. And then other ones have like 3 copies, and then the least amount is 2 copies. And then we also have like a master NFT, which is 10% off like anything, and that one we have 5 copies for. So
Got it.
that one's going to be really valuable to people. So that'll probably go up in price the
How
most.
much?
You know,
So how many of these tokens have been bought so far?
so they're not released yet, right? And like we're trying to come up with a release date, and like we want to get the word out more, right? And we want it to sell out when we do release it. Like we don't want it to be just lingering there and like, oh, like only a few people bought it. You know, it'll look a lot better if it's sold out and whatever. People would be more likely to sell it for a higher price in the future rather than like hold it for a long time. And that's what you want. You want people to keep, selling, buying.
Yeah, you want a good secondhand market because
Right.
if you don't have like an active if you don't have an active market, then it's just like holding stuff in your safe.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Well, Chandler, it truly was a pleasure having you on our show today. And please hit me up when you do release those NFTs because I will be the first to buy it.
I got you. I definitely will.
Excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Manny from Heaven's Pantry signing off, and Chandler Gottlieb as well. You can find our you can find our Excalibars at Palm Berries, located in various parts of North Carolina. Can you list out all the locations again, Chandler, for our audience?
Sure. So we have a store in Denver, North Carolina, Mooresville, North Carolina, Hickory, North Carolina, and then we have Lincolnton, North Carolina coming soon this winter.
Excellent. If you're ever in the area, please stop by at Chandler's store. I will not say something is delicious unless I truly believe in it. And you know, his acai bowls absolutely phenomenal. Especially the protein bowl. That one's definitely my favorite.
Mine too.
If you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe button, and follow us on Instagram at Heaven's Pantry, and follow Palmberries on Instagram at Palmberries. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for having